Welcome, I'm Peter Dean, the Pro Vice-Chancellor Education here at the University of Western Australia. I'd just like to talk to you today for a few minutes about the changes that are happening with the assessment policy here at UWA for semester 1 of 2019. The first key point is that these assessment policy changes relate to any teaching period that starts after the 1st of January 2019, although it doesn't include those units that are being taught in the current summer school. These changes, of course, apply to all coursework units across the entire length of the university. And what I want to do now is simply highlight some of the really major and key features that have occurred as a result of these changes. The first of these is around examinations. The new policy means that no single examination can be worth more than 60%. This is down from the current 70%. Of course, unit conveners can have up to 70% of assessments in examinations in the plural sense, but no single exam as a part of that can be worth more than 60%. More broadly in assessments, if you are setting a failed component for your assessment as part of passing the unit, the pass mark for the assessments of a failed component must be 50%. This is because the university sets 50% as a satisfactory grade for the completion of individual pieces of assessment, and failed components must meet that requirement. One of the other key changes is that all coursework students must be provided with formative feedback in the unit in the first half of the teaching period. Now, this has just been applicable to undergraduates up till now, but this will now apply to all coursework students, including postgraduate coursework students from 2019. Other key changes include the fact that unit outlines will need to be published 1 week before the start of the semester. This is a move from 1 day. This will allow our students more time to adapt to what they're going to be studying for that semester, to be able to source the textbooks and other learning materials, and prepare themselves and organise themselves for the assessments and the class content that they're going to undertake. This change also brings us into line with all the other universities in Western Australia and benchmarks us with most other universities around the country. Another key factor that's going to influence students is that those students who get deferred or supplementary examinations will require 10 days notice of the date, time and venue. This change actually has no impact on our academic staff. What it is an administrative move that is undertaken by our service delivery centres and our student experience teams, and in terms of the way we notify our students. It is of great benefit though to our students who will have more time to plan their study, their work and their trips back home if they have to take deferred and supplementary examinations. There is of course a caveat to this. Those students who need to complete their coursework units before going on practicum will not necessarily get those 10 full working days, but they will be notified well in advance of that particular period of time. All units at UWA under this new assessment policy will have to do criterion referenced assessment. This means we assess our students relative to specific criteria and not to the performance of other students. A great way to make this very clear to our students is to use a rubric or a marking key for our individual pieces of assessment. This change also means that marks cannot be scaled to fit a predetermined grade distribution. Of course, assessments should still be moderated to make sure that the assessment is fair and consistent. And this change is to bring us into line with the commitment of this policy that currently exists and the principles that it undertakes, but also to make sure that we're compliant with the Higher Education Standards Act and the Australian Qualifications Framework. There are still some changes that the Assessment Working Party are going through. One of the biggest that we dealt with in the consultation period this year was what late penalty will be applied to our students. As a result of the broad range of opinions that were put to the Assessment Working Party on this issue, we've decided that we'll be developing an options paper, and this paper will go out through a staff survey to allow you to provide some feedback. We're also going to be asking that each School Learning and Teaching Committee review that options paper and provide some feedback to the Assessment Working Party. Any changes, if required, to the late penalty provision will be put forward to the Academic Board in the first half of next year, with any applicable changes taking place from semester 2 2019. There are many more changes in the assessment policy that the Assessment Working Party has made and has been approved by Academic Board. Most of these do with clarity of wording and hopefully to make things more accessible and understandable to both our staff and to our students. If you'd like further information, including the policy log for all the full changes to the assessment policy, information on the Review of Assessments Working Party, or the University Policy on Assessment, they can be found at the website on the screen. If you would like any help with the new assessment policy, you can of course contact the Education Enhancement Unit on the email that's on the screen. The Education Enhancement Unit is more than happy to work with schools, with disciplines or with individual academics to ensure that the new policy is put into place as effectively as possible. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for taking the time, and good luck with the new policy in 2019. Thank you.